Hello, hashtag Verse TV family, and welcome. It's episode 4 of hashtag Verse TV round 2. And
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cato. An interesting fact about me is that I am the youngest of my family. I'm the baby. I have two older sisters and one older brother.
Hi, everybody. This is Basic Complexity. And piggybacking off of what Kato just said, interesting fact about me is that actually I'm the oldest, and I have two younger sisters. And to be technical, I have a younger god brother. I don't have any blood brothers, but he's close enough.
I'm Aaron Mack, and sticking with the theme of siblings and everything, I will say that I am the oldest. I am the older brother. I have one sibling, and he is a brother. He is my brother. Period. All right. And now it's time for the Rando TV. This time, the question in a box. It's coming from Kevin's box of acquaintances. And the question is, what have you done in the last year that makes you proud? Oi. And I will go ahead and speak first since I'm moderating and stuff. I will say it's been a couple of things actually. And at my oh, former job, toward the end, I actually did get my certification in digital marketing, and I thought that was really cool, and that was sort of the beginning of not the beginning, but it was an accomplishment that I was like, you know what? I can do things because and not just I can do things because I hadn't given up on myself. I will say, having the MS diagnosis, the doctors who diagnosed me way back in 2010, they pretty much told me to just give up on everything. Just give up. They just wanted me to quit. And at that time, I just didn't understand it. It did have an impact on my path in life, I'll say, because they're like, yeah, you're just gonna, with MS, we don't know what it is, but it'll just like one day you'll be out, and then all of a sudden, pop, you'll have a relapse and you'll go paralyzed or whatever. And sorry, but we don't know. That's just what it's gonna happen. And I was like, I don't know. And because they said that to me and worked really hard to make sure that I had no hope, they worked really hard for that. At that time that they diagnosed me, I was a member of Big Brothers Big Sisters. I had a little brother. I guess that's kind of on par for what we were talking about in the intro. I I stopped doing Big Brothers Big Sisters because I was so afraid of being out with my little brother at one point and just suddenly this MS beast just suddenly make me paralyzed in the middle of nowhere. Well, not in the middle of nowhere, but out while I'm out with my little brother, and then him having to experience seeing his big brother go through something like that. So I was like, I don't want to run the risk of putting him through that. All of that to say, I have actually, and that's interesting. Following along the lines of what I spoke about in the last episode, I do have some things in the works that are actually quite positive. And even my uncle told me to think about more positive things and look positively. I it's a mixed bag for me, right? But I'm keeping positive and talking. Well, no, but yes, that's how I feel. Like there are a number of positive things. Even me with helping and teaching the youth. I'll leave it at that. It's a secret. But go ahead. Let's say just because you're smiling so wonderfully, Cato, you're next. And the question was, what have you done in the last year that makes you proud?
You know, because I think the anniversary is coming up, I'm going to say getting my puppy. I becoming a pet dad. So I kind of was so I had it's just been me and my cat and my turtle for all these years. And I decided that I wanted to open up my home to another rescue animal. And so I went to a shelter and I got a little puppy. I actually was looking for a dog. Well, I thought in my head that I would get a dog that was like 1 or 2 years old, maybe even 5 years old. But I wound up getting a 10-week-old puppy. So that was kind of different. But I'm kind of proud of myself. And I have been able to keep her alive for a year and keep her taken care of. So I'm pretty proud of that.
You're a great pet dad, Cato. Yes, you are.
Thanks.
Absolutely. And I'll also say hi to our viewers out there. We have a couple. So, hello. And basic complexity. The question, what have you done in the last year that makes you proud?
And well, definitely in the last year that made me proud. I cannot think of any one specific topic that really stands out. Um, I'm thinking, well, okay, so I can't remember exactly when this was, um, but it was actually probably a few years ago. But I'd say maybe it was me coming out to my younger cousin, much younger cousin. Well, like 16 or 17 years younger. Um, and starting when I started to realize that in my extended family, I'm not the only gay one, which I thought for a very long time.
All right. And now for our hashtag Tune TV. That was the hashtag Rando TV for random. And this is the hashtag Tune TV. Kevin will go first with his song by Trey Songs. His song by Trey Songs. Anyway.
um, actually, yes, the song is actually titled "Gotta Make It," the remix, not the original version, which I believe was his debut single. The remix is on his debut album, obviously. Um, and it features not only just Juvenile, the rapper, come on, you all gotta know who that is. But featured the Queen of Soul, Miss Aretha Franklin. And yeah, I just loved it.
Yeah, and that was a great song, and the fact that Aretha Franklin wasn't just it was actually featuring vocals from Aretha Franklin, including speaking from Aretha Franklin. And
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie, when Trey Songz first came out, I will say that no shade. He's beautiful, he's wonderful, he's all the things, right? But I wasn't checking for Trey Songs like that back then. I wasn't when he first came out. I'm sorry. But now I see why he went on to be and still is the outstanding, exceptional powerhouse in the music industry that he is. Outstanding, exceptional, beautiful. Yes, all the things. Kata,
I love the message of the song, but I don't actually like the song. I did I didn't care for it, but I do think it has a good message, and I can appreciate that. And I think that's all I have to say about that.
I will also say one other thing I noticed about the song was clear Southern guy and definitely showed the utmost respect for Aretha Franklin.
I did actually like the song. Kato, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to shade you. It was actually I think, uh, if not my first time hearing the song, definitely my first time actually taking the time to listen to the song, and I legitimately really liked it. Yes. And while we wait for Bass Up, it looks like he's already back. Hey, all right. And I will go right into my song, which is Dreamsicle by Dumb Blonde from their album Dumb Blonde back in circa 2015. And as far as the name Dumb Blonde, I remember, I don't know if it was Shannon Bex or Aubrey O'Day, but one of them was talking about how their boyfriend, yes, talking about boyfriend, yes, boyfriend, but talking about how their boyfriend suggested when they were coming up with the name to remove one of the B's from Dumb Blonde. Because, of course, Dumb, D-U-M-B, and Blonde, B-L-O-N-D-E, the boyfriend was like, remove one of those B's from it, and that should be your name. And that was a smooth idea. And I love the fact that when people talk about their boyfriends, because I love mine, and I think that's just a beautiful thing. Anyway, yes, Dumb Blonde is the fourth iteration of the group Danity Kane, and I do not know what the song is talking about, quite frankly, just being honest with y'all. But oh my goodness, that song bangs still. Like even this afternoon when I played that song again, I was like, I see why I love that song. Basic Complexity.
Yeah, actually, when I listened to the song also, and like you, I didn't quite understand what they were saying, but in general, I did like the feel from the song. And yes, they, like you said, they're another um innovation or spinoff or whatever you call it. Then they came.
Iteration, yes. Kato.
I guess this is my negative week because I did not like that song.
Oh,
Yeah, I kind of hated it. And I think that's all I have to say about that. But yeah. So today I'm kind of on the negative end on all of the songs.
mm, well,
However, I was going to say the song I chose,
yes.
I did like it because I chose it. And it's called I Swear by All for One. It is an older song. I can't even, I should know when it came out. I think it was like the early 90s or the mid 90s. Um, but I just think it's a
think
really pretty love song.
I think it might have been somewhere around the mid 90s.
Hmm.
I can't remember the exact year.
The
Yes.
early part of the mid 90s, but yes.
It will be it could, I don't know, I just keep thinking of like the for better or worse till death do us part. It kind of reminds me of a nice song to have your first dance to after you get married.
Mm, marriage.
Okay,
Yes.
see that.
What did you think about the song, Aaron?
Oh my gosh. I love that song, I swear. I have loved it for years, all the
Mhm.
way since I lived in Middletown, New York, and I was a little kid. So that tells you the time frame of the song. And so all of that to say, it couldn't have been too late into the mid 90s because I lived in New Orleans in 96. And I also wanted to shout out the fact that All for One, the singing group, is still together and still making new albums that also bang. Great songs. But I swear, and I love how you brought up its marriage component to it. And that makes me want to listen to it even more again. Anyway, but yes, thank you, Kato. All right. Are we ready for hashtag more or less TV?
Not yet. So we still don't know what Basic Complexity thinks of my song.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Oh
See, I do that sometimes. I'm sorry.
no,
Thank you,
I
Kato.
thought I mentioned it, but yeah, I've always loved that song ever since I first heard it. When like you, Aaron, I was definitely younger, but
Mhm.
yeah, I loved the song ever since I first heard it. And the 90s in general music was, they were definitely all about their groups.
Mhm. I love a good harmony.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that is very much a thing of the not right now, you know? And it's unfortunate. I remember and that'll be a little known fact of mine one day, even though I'm going to say it right now. But I used to be a part of a singing group in the early 2000s, and we were trying to make it, but we clearly like you don't even know the singing group, so I guess it didn't happen. But the the music, I you know what? I'm not even going to say that because I don't want to sound like I'm discouraging anyone from anything. Because anything, especially in today's music industry, anything can make it. You just have to create it. Like, what is that? Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. You have to create it.
Mhm.
So, yes, you can make a group work, you know? And that's all I have to say. Anyway, yes. So now, are we ready for hashtag more or less TV?
Yes, we are.
Yep.
Oh, right. And this, our focus, is none other than none other than, like he's not infamous, but I'm kidding. Tim Haggard is the focus,
Mhm.
and it comes from a post by the beautiful, beautiful, same gender loving Bolu Okupe. I love him. Um, love. We're all supposed to love each other. So, yes, I do, period. And should our gay community be more welcoming of fellow queer people who have had a despicable past littered with very harmful homophobia as they walk their life journey toward a more authentic love connection, changing? Or should we be less welcoming because they might not be actually on a path that reaches authentic love connection and the harm they've already caused is way too great? I say we should be more welcoming because we should be more welcoming mainly. Mainly that. Because yet again, I'm a Gemini, so it's both. But I say we should be more welcoming mainly. And church hurt is a real thing. And that's so unfortunate. There are so many people, myself included, who have it's complicated, right? It's complicated. A lot of things can be complicated. And church hurt is a very real thing. There's a lot of good in church, there's a lot of good in religion and faith. There's a lot of good. But when you use the word religion, there's also, there can be a lot of bad that people extrapolate from it,
Mhm.
unfortunately. And I believe that Tim Haggard, was speaking from a place of pain. And and when I say speaking from, because the beautiful Bolu Okupe was referencing some older clips of Tim Haggard, and he showed one of the clips of Tim Haggard being in an interview the first time. So here's the Tim Haggard story because I realized that's an important part. He is a church pastor, was and is a church pastor who speaks or has spoken very homophobic, has given a lot of homophobic stuff in his church rhetoric, while at the same time he was ordering drugs and sex from his male sex partner because he was in the closet. And that's got to be all. Wow. That's got to be a difficult closet to be in, to be so closed and to have to openly hate yourself, openly hate who you are behind closed doors. And I'm going to save the rest of that, and I will possibly circle back to it. But, Cato, more or less?
Less. I think we should be less forgiving. I do believe that everyone should I do believe in second chances. However, I don't think the masses have to give you a second chance. I certainly am not giving him a second chance. He's not welcome in my home, but if you would like to welcome him into yours, then good for you. And I won't begrudge you that. but I think that he did a lot of hurt. He did a lot of pain. And the thing that I think about the most is young children, young
Mm.
queer kids who are in his church and are listening to that hatred, really. And he didn't have to openly hate himself. Not There are a lot of pastors that don't even talk about homosexuality. When it comes up, they might say, this is what the Bible says, and then they move on. They don't like harp on it and harp on it and harp on it. It's like he's making it harder on himself. So he's gay, he's in the closet, he's afraid of being persecuted, but he's doing all the persecuting. It's like you are the monster that you are afraid of. And I don't know. I just think now that you've gotten caught, because that's what happened. He didn't have this change of heart where he was like, you know what, you guys, I haven't been honest with you. He was caught doing something that he shouldn't have been doing, and now all of a sudden he's on this different path. And I don't know. I don't forgive you, but I do think someone should. It's just not going to be.
That's a very good point, Cato. And right before we go to basic complexity, I wanted to say also, when you watch that interview with him, and yes, he did make his own bed in which he has to lie because he lied.
Mhm.
I found it so interesting when he spoke. When the woman asked him, like, and did you order drugs from this man? And he's like, yeah, I got some whatever the drug was. I forgot. It doesn't matter. But he's like, yeah, I got the drugs from him. And like his face, he had a little bit of a smile. And it's unfortunate, but going back to what you were saying, Cato, that's probably because his chosen rhetoric for his church was, when you weigh being a drug addict with being gay, gay is the more evil thing. And
Mhm.
yes, that is indeed his thing, that his bed that he made himself lie in. And yes, him talking about the drug, Kevin, basic complexity.
All right. I'm well. I've definitely been at the point. I have to agree with Kato. I can't quite say I forgive him, and I think one of the main things that really stands out to me was that he was making these hateful comments or sermons or whatever, but there could have been very troubled child or teen in that church that ended up committing suicide.
Mhm.
And that was definitely a thing that was going on in the past.
And it's
So
easy to feel. Oh, I'm sorry. I just, yeah.
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 What had you started this? It sounded like you said, and he was what? I missed it. I'm sorry.
I was saying it's easy to, when you're a young person, it's easy to feel like the world hates you.
Yes.
Even if that's not true. But you feel like, so you've got this person at the head of the church that is showing that they hate you. And then you've got all these people sitting in the pews, nodding their head and affirming. It's like, oh, they hate me too. Uh, it can like really compound for a young person. Um, and I just think he did so much hurt. I don't know that there was any queer kids in his church. There probably were, and he probably
Yes.
was having an affair with some of them. because
Stop.
they do
Now,
that.
there's the difference between pedophilia and
Well, I
being.
don't mean children, but young people. But I don't know. I don't want to. I'm not going to put accusations on him or start any rumors. I'm not any rumors, but there probably were young queer kids in his church that left feeling very, very disheartened. That could ruin your day. Everybody's going to church, and so many people are leaving that church like, "Oh, I got a word today. I'm feeling so good. I'm ready to take on the world." And this young person is like, "Wow, I just kind of learned that I'm going to hell. The world hates me, and that's just the world as they know it." And I think I don't know. I just don't forgive. I don't forgive you. I don't.
I try so hard to walk the to see things from both perspectives, but oh my gosh, you guys, in addition to being about to make me cry on the show, you're making me change my answer because like I I in my personal life I try not to use profanity, and now especially on hashtag Verse TV because YouTube will like flag it, but I'll say that is you both
Just
are right. That's some BS. That's some BS, and you're right. There are some kids that could have gone home, and some kids and young, and this is me not cussing again, but some kids and some young effing adults who could have gone home and felt like who they are at their core needs to change and
Mhm.
that they're wrong for being who they are. And yes, you are right that a lot of his sermons were particularly hard because it could have been a different way that he did it. It could have been, for example, I know one of my churches that I loved my time at that church, and my knowledge increased so greatly, and it was so wonderful. The church was not in favor of homosexuality, but that it was not a topic that the pastor would talk about on a regular basis. It was just one of those, well, it is what it is kind of things. Like we don't condone it. One thing I appreciate particularly about the pastor is he was like, we don't condone it, but I'm not going to sit here and say all gays are going to hell because they're gay. That's not true. And I was like, thank you. Even though I was in the closet, stop it, y'all. Don't, y'all, oh my gosh. It's like y'all are trying to make me cry. Stop it. Anyway, and I will add to that as far as the harm issue, because I remember years ago, and Kevin, you might remember this story as well, but there was a dude in who was meeting people on one of those gay dating sites. Actually, I think it was Craigslist or something.
oh
And he would meet them in Anacostia and kill them.
yeah,
And
I do somewhat remember that.
thank you, thank you. Yep, Anacostia is right in DC, and he did that to three gay dudes, and got 33 years, so a total of 11 years for each life that he took. And when
Which
they asked him,
wow,
why would you do that? I know, right? And when they asked him, why would you do that? His answer was, I don't like no faggots. But what I believe it was, is I believe he was having sex with them and then killing them so they couldn't tell on him.
Exactly.
Thank you. You know,
Yeah.
Kato, what are your thoughts on people who do egregious things like that? I hope that's the right word.
That's a good word to use because it is egregious.
Thank you.
Um, whether he was sleeping with them or not, he went out of his way to find people to then kill.
Yes.
That is a type of hatred that is learned, and he probably learned it in a church. Like of all the places in the world where you would learn to hate, a church is where you learn this. I don't know if that's where he learned it. I guess I do a lot of conjecture. I don't think it's conjecture.
That is the right word, and that is conjecture. But yeah, I hear you. I
Around
hear you.
here,
I'm
but
riding with you.
um, to go out of your way to hurt someone, you make this account, you set this date, you meet these people, and then you do whatever you do to them before you kill them. Is just it's like why do you hate them that much? Like there are he could have gone after criminals, you know. he could have he could have been a vigilante and went around trying to figure out who stole the old lady's purse, but that's not what he decided to do. He decided to prey on someone looking for love.
And that's another thing. Absolutely. Because, yes, he could have done all of that, but for him, and I don't know if he did this because of church or the people around him's church. I don't know. But for him, the zenith of issue was homosexuality. And it's
Mhm.
just like in some churches, when it comes to homosexuality, homosexuality is like always the zenith of the sins. Like you can do drugs, you can be an old woman bag stealer, you can be all of those things, but you can turn around and repent from that moment. But if you live a life of homosexuality, some people, not all, but some pastors will be like, if you live a life of homosexuality, then that's the end for you, my friend. Life in hell. But
Mhm.
the man who beat the old lady up into a coma and stole from her after raping her, at least it was man on woman. At least it was heterosexual rape, right? Right.
Right.
Wow.
Does
And
anybody have any? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm almost positive I'm not. As I recall, in the since we're talking about like church or whatever, in most cases, I learned that no one sin is greater than another.
Hmm. That is what
So
we're supposed to teach.
I'm just like, all right, you can't pick and choose from the Bible.
There's levels to this ish. Yes, that's absolutely. You know, my only issue with people taking the, well, no one sin is greater than the other. And I know you, basic complexity, Kevin, so I know you're not saying that.
Mhm.
My only issue with when people say that, well, no one sin is greater than the other, because I've heard some liberal people that I like a lot talking about homosexuality and being like, well, no one sin is greater than the other, and so
Some
we
take
shouldn't
it
persecute. And my issue with that is at the end of the day, you're calling it a sin. You are calling it a sin.
basically.
And my belief structure, what I believe, my understanding of God Almighty and the Bible and everything is that it is not a sin. But maybe that's just me. Actually, no, I know for a fact that it's not just me, but maybe that's not you. And I guess that's okay. Let me ask this question of y'all. Is it okay for people to believe differently like that and think that way and interpret the Bible that all gays are going to hell? But I will say if they think that way in the back of their mind, but keep it in the back of their mind and not mistreat anybody because of what's in the back of their mind. Is that okay? Well, I think it's okay, but I'm asking y'all, is that okay? Do y'all think it's okay?
I think it's okay. You can feel like, yeah, you can feel however you would like to feel, however you need to feel about that. Just don't project that on me, and don't try to make me hate myself because you feel this way. So if you keep it in the back of your head and you don't discriminate against me and you don't um, discriminate against your children, then fine. Believe what you believe. Whatever gets you through the day.
And that's a really good point, though, Cato, because and basic complexity. I'm going to want your answer too. But when you bring up the kids, you're right because they can have kids. So even if they have it just in the back of their mind and don't think they're doing outwardly anything to be or don't march against like no more gays, no more gays. But if it's in the back of their mind, they might treat their gay kid differently, and that is a problem. I would say basic complexity, but you go ahead and weigh in. We're about to close up though.
Uh, um, yeah, would say my thoughts on it. Like, even if it is in the back of your mind, which on some level, that's fine as long as you don't project it onto someone else. But if you have that thought in the back of your mind on a subconscious level, you are basically a hater.
You are. But keeping it to yourself is what's important to me.
But
Yeah, keep it to yourself.
yeah, just don't make me think that's what's in your mind.
Mhm.
So I think we can conclude and say if you absolutely 100% keep your hate to yourself to the back of your mind and not let it affect how you treat your children or anyone around you, then that's okay.
If that's even
Yeah,
possible, but yeah,
then
If that's even
that's
possible, because I don't think it is.
I don't.
and I agree. But I'm like, if that's your hate and you're keeping it to yourself, that's what you have to deal with in your mind.
Mhm.
But again, if that's even possible
Right.
for you to not let it spill over. But
Exactly.
yes. All right, hashtag Verse TV family. This is Aaron Mack, and we are about to close episode 4 of hashtag Verse TV round 2. Kevin, I wanted you to do the 2
Oh,
thing too. We should all do 2. That would be cute if we all hold up 2. Round 2. Hashtag Verse TV round 2. Yes. All right. So, yes, I'm Aaron Mack, and
I am Cato.
and I'm basic complexity.
we will talk to you all later. Thank you, viewers. Have a good night. Stay blessed. All right.